So, in summary, it is possible, folks, to understand what these ancient mysteries were. And there appears to be at least 4 truths gleaned from the information provided in the comments made previously, and these truths appear to be: 1. The ancient mysteries had 2 forms of worshiping the same God. 2. The knowledge of the true God was reserved for those who had been entrusted with the secrets, and not for those whom they call the profane. 3. Those who understood those secrets were sworn to the strictest secrecy. And 4. Those who had knowledge of the secrets claimed to possess all of the answers to all of the problems of mankind. Now, there was an additional secret for the secret bearers. They had to be initiated in a private initiation ceremony. Albert Pike, General Albert Pike, a Southern Confederate general during the Civil War, wrote this, quote, "Initiation was considered to be a mystical death, and the perfect epoped was then said to be regenerated, newborn, restored to a renovated existence of life, light and purity," unquote. In fact, folks, this, quote, newborn, unquote, experience is similar to the experience the, quote, born again, unquote, Christians go through. The Christians call their experience a second birth, just as the Masons do. In fact, Albert Pike calls a similar ceremony a, quote, born again, unquote, experience, and he wrote this, quote, "In the Indian mysteries, the 3rd degree, the initiate is said to be born again," unquote. The ceremony in the ancient mysteries has been described by the Masonic writer Manly P. Hall. Quote, "In the ancient system of initiation, the truth seeker must pass through a second birth, and those who attained this exalted state were known thereafter as, quote, the twice born, unquote. This new birth must be personally earned through a complete regeneration of character and conduct," unquote. This new birth ceremony involves a symbolic death, according to the Mason Kenneth Mackenzie, and he wrote this, quote, "In the ancient mysteries, the aspirant could not participate in the highest secrets until he had been placed in the coffin. In this, he was symbolically said to die, and his resurrection was to the light," unquote. So remember I told you about the initiation that George Bush underwent in the crypt, also known as the tomb, the skull and bones, the Brotherhood of Death at Yale University? This is what they're talking about. During a press conference, a reporter asked George Bush if he was a Christian, and he replied thusly, quote, "If you're asking if I have been born again, the answer is yes," unquote. And indeed, he had. Modern-day Masons participate in an almost similar ceremony to the one described by these Masonic writers. In the 3rd degree, called the Master Mason degree, inside the Blue Lodge, the candidate is actually knocked off of his feet by several of the Masons in attendance. He is wrapped up in a blanket and moved to the western end of the temple. There, after further ceremony, he is raised up by a grip called the Master's Grip, or the grip of the lion's paw. Those who learned the mysteries also learned that they had a secret project, one that was described by Albert Pike in his book entitled Morals and Dogma. Mr. Pike wrote this, quote, "Behold our object, the end, the result of the great speculations of antiquity, the ultimate annihilation of evil and restoration of man to his first estate by a Redeemer, a Messiah, a Christos, the incarnate Word, reason, or power of deity," unquote. I urge you all, if you can find a copy of Morals and Dogma by Albert Pike, to purchase it, take it home, and read it. Mr. Hall told his readers that those who had been initiated into the mysteries were the secret power behind the governments of the past. He wrote this about these ancient initiates in his book entitled, What the Ancient Wisdom Expects of Its Disciples. Quote, "They are the invisible powers behind the thrones of earth, and men are but marionettes dancing while the invisible ones pull the strings. We see the dancer, but the master mind that does the work remains concealed by the cloak of silence." Unquote. Remember, I told you folks that if you don't open your mind, and if you don't quit believing dogma, if you don't quit believing what people tell you, if you don't stop believing what Dan Rather tells you on the 6 o'clock news, or your local minister down at your church, or your mother, or the President of the United States, and if you don't start digging to find the truth yourself, you, the sheeple, are the marionettes dancing while the invisible ones pull the strings. And until you change that pattern of your life, you will always be the puppet on the end of someone else's string. And I know that that's not what you want to be. Is it? Well, if it's not, change your life now. Stop believing what you're told, including what you hear on the show, unless it checks out in your own research, your own experience, your own digging. Each of us must find our own truth. And if we are really looking and digging, we're ultimately going to come to something near the same truth for all of us. And I can tell you now that most of us have been living in fantasy land for all of our lives. We don't even know anything near what the truth of any matter is. We must begin an honest search, starting from the beginning, wiping the slate clean, cleansing our mind, and looking at the world, beginning again, as though through the eyes of a newborn child. And you will find that most of what you've ever been taught in your entire life is a lie. Is a lie. Other writers, folks, have confirmed the thoughts of Mr. Hall. A Masonic scholar named George Steinmetz also acknowledged that these mysteries exist and that some of the members inside the Masonic lodges are custodians of the secrets. He has written this in his book entitled Freemasonry, Its Hidden Meaning. Quote, "Ancient secret doctrine, which is concealed in Masonic allegory and symbolism. It was but to preserve these truths for future generations that Masonry was perpetuated," unquote. And if that is true, why is it a secret? Why not tell us all what this secret doctrine is? For modern man is not like ancient man, when he didn't know how to read or reason or understand. Modern man has the capability to understand anything that is put before him and accept it if it is the truth and reject it if it is a lie. So why the secrecy? The secrecy is because, folks, the real secret of Mystery Babylon is how to control everyone else. And if they reveal these secrets, they won't have the control, for it'll be in the hands of everyone. That is the greatest secret of the secret societies. Another writing of Manly P. Hall was this, quote, "Much of the ritualism of Freemasonry is based upon the trials to which candidates were subjected by the ancient hierophants." Hierophant is defined as the high priest of the mysteries. "Before the keys of wisdom were enthroned to them," unquote. The ancient mysteries had a beginning. According to Mr. Mackey, he wrote about where they started. Quote, "The first of which are those of Isis and Osiris in Egypt. The most important of these mysteries were the Osiric in Egypt," unquote. Another writer, Edmund Ronayne, an ex-Mason, confirmed that the Masons were involved in the worship of Osiris when he wrote this in his book entitled The Master's Carpet. Quote, "Masonry's ceremonies symbols in the celebrated legend of Hiram in the Master Mason's degree were directly borrowed from the ancient mysteries of the secret worship of Baal, Osiris, or Tammuz, unquote.